Case number 149 on the calendar in the matter of Macias versus Macias. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Macias, the defendant is your brother, and according to what I've read, you claim that he assaulted you almost 2 years ago. You want to be compensated for your injuries, your pain and suffering, your lost wages, etc. And your brother tells me that you were at his house, that you were the aggressor, that he asked you to leave, you refused to leave, and he was merely defending himself.
That's correct.
I gather that this problem between you and your brother started over your mother.
Yes.
When did this alleged assault take place?
May 17th, 2002.
And with whom was your mother living at the time?
She was only staying at his house temporarily.
How long had she been at your house?
About 2.5 years.
Prior to that, where had she been living?
In her home in Texas until she had a stroke.
Did she ever live with your sister prior to 2002?
No, ma'am.
Correct?
Not correct, Your Honor.
When did she live with you?
Immediately, 4 months after her stroke, while she was recovering, I took her back home to Texas. And we were there for 4 or 5 months. And then he asked her to come back because he was telling her that her...
I don't care. He took her back to his house.
Right.
All right. And she lived there not for a couple of days. She was staying there for at least a year.
Not consistently, Your Honor.
Oh, don't play with me, Miss Macias. Don't play with me. You want to tell me what happened, Miss Macias, on May 17th?
My mother had been asking me to pick her up because she was bored at his house. I went to pick her up, and I hadn't been there but 3 minutes before he showed up, Your Honor. He started to tell me that I was not supposed to be there. I did not know that. As I'm waiting for her to gather her medication, I'm helping her gather some clothing of her from her suitcase because the prior time she had been in my house.
Just tell me the story. He came home at 9:15 and he told you weren't supposed to be there.
Right.
And you said to him what?
I said, I just came from my mother, and he asked me to leave, and I told him I needed her medication. I could not leave without her medication.
So he asked you to leave?
Yes, and I said I cannot leave until I get her my mother's medication. So he started pushing me out the door. The beating started. He started pushing me out the door. I told him I just want my mother's medication, and he kept on pushing me and pushing me. Eventually, I just kind of blacked out. I just fell and stood up and fell and stood up. He kept on hitting me. I don't know where the punches were coming from. Eventually, I just stood up, and I tried to kick him in the groin. I could not lift my leg up very much. My back had gone out. I had a little problem with my back. I could not lift my leg very high at all. And he grabbed my leg and shoved it over my head, shoving me against the door. And even though I have a certain amount of flexibility, the fact that my back was out at the time just really, really caused me a lot of...
Why didn't you leave when he told you to leave?
Because I needed her medicine.
You didn't need her medicine. You needed to leave.
I wanted my mother.
You come back another time for your mother. If your brother tells you to leave his home, if you remain in his home and he tells you to leave, you're trespassing.
Well, I wanted to get her clothing. I couldn't take her without she wasn't prepared,
Is there a guardianship in this case of your mother?
Your Honor, there is. I am my mother's conservator.
Can I see the papers, please?
Yes, ma'am.
You have photographs of the assault, Miss Macias?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
May I see them, please? These are rulings by the court which suggests that your brother has conservatorship over your mother.
Yes.
Really, the limited purpose of assuring that she received proper daily medical care. The court did not believe that you were in a position at that time to assume that responsibility, despite the fact that your mother seemed to indicate that you would be her preference. The court also noted in its order that you had a difficult time controlling yourself during the course of the hearings. Did you act out during the course of the hearings?
Only on 2 occasions, Your Honor, when he made very serious allegations and accusations. I was really upset because this has been going on since my mom got sick, and he has dragged me to court repeatedly trying to get restraining orders to keep me away from my mother. And I was just very upset, and this has been the hardest thing for me. I've had to go to group therapy because he has upset me.
Are you on medication, Ms. Macias?
No, Your Honor.
Had you been?
In the beginning, when I went to group therapy, before this went to the conservatorship, yes, I was taking medication for stress and depression, Your Honor. I was very upset over...
It's suggested, but it's not discussed in here, but I assume that that's true.
Well, I just could not control my nerves, Your Honor.
Who took these photographs?
My son.
Okay. Most of the black and blue marks that are here were around the arm.
Yes.
Looks as if someone's trying to restrain you. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Macias, you want to tell me what happened?
Yes, ma'am. On the day of 5/17/2002, I did have the occasion to come by my house in the morning. I had forgotten keys that I needed while on the job. I was on duty at the time. And I found my sister inside my home after I had asked her several times. I did not want her anywhere near my family because we had a record of legal incidents that had transpired up to that point. She had filed restraining orders. I had filed restraining orders. We had gone back and forth.
Put your hand down, Ms. Macias.
We had gone back and forth. And we had gotten to the point where she was no longer a person that was welcome in my home.
How long had it been since your mother was out of your home?
She had just been with my sister a few days earlier for Mother's Day, the weekend before, just 5 days earlier.
You took her there, to her house?
I believe that, I don't remember who took who. I believe that she picked her up. I don't recall the exact.
Okay, so that wasn't a problem.
It was 5 days prior.
So it wasn't a problem. She was, in fact, seeing her.
Yes, she was.
So tell me what happened when you got home looking for your keys.
When I got home, I was surprised to find her, and I asked her to please remove herself. I asked her what she was doing there, and she said she was helping Mom get her things together because she was going to take her. And I asked her, how long are you going to take her for so I can give you the right amount of pills for my mom? And she said, it's none of your business. I'll take her as long as I want to keep her. And I said, well, then, Rose, she's not going with you. And furthermore, I want you to get out of my house. So she says, I will get out of your house whenever I feel like it. She starts waving her hand in front of my face and using the F word multiple times. So I walked up to the front door. I opened it. I asked her to walk out. And when she refused to walk out, I grabbed her by the blouse, by the arm. Maybe she may have sustained those bruises. And I started walking her backwards towards the door. She immediately turned around and attacked me with martial arts moves. She went.
Just tell me how she did that.
She went. She tried to kick me in the face. I have pictures to show my injuries also. She tried to kick me in the face, which I blocked with the back part of my right arm. And then she repositioned and double punched me karate style below my left collarbone. And then she came down and tried to kick me in the groin. At that point, I blocked her kick, and I was able to hold onto her leg and raised it. And as she stated earlier, she fell inside my home, striking a piece of furniture, a china cabinet, with the back of her hand.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He told you to leave his house. You didn't leave his house. He had the right to escort you out. You both behaved badly. What I want to know is why 2 years down the road you are deciding to sue him.
And later today,
I should make a gift to you of $870.
To help me out when I took a 2-week leave of absence from work.
And you were already separated at this time?
Correct.
Yeah, get over it. He doesn't have to be a real idiot.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Rose Macias says her brother, Juan Macias, assaulted her by throwing her to the ground. Juan says Rose was trespassing in his home.
Where is your mother living now?
Everywhere.
What do you mean everywhere?
She bounces around from state to state, Your Honor, ever since he got her conservatorship. Immediately after he received it, he told me over the phone that my mother staying at his house was jeopardizing his job, his marriage, and his lifestyle. He has never wanted to take care of her, Your Honor. I have been her primary caretaker.
Could you just tell me where she has been living for the past year?
She has been living mostly at her home at my mother's request. After this incident happened, we went to court, and the court asked my mother again where she would prefer to reside. And based on everything that happened, and she witnessed this, she was scared, and she said, I'd rather go live with my sister at this point.
Miss Macias.
Yes.
Your mother was interviewed by the police.
Yes.
And clearly, if your mother is living with you now, your mother was not angry with you. Your mother said that she was there during this entire incident, and at no time did she ever see your brother punch you or kick you, as you have described. She, as a matter of fact, specifically says that that didn't happen. Mm-hmm. Can you explain that to me?
Yes. Your Honor, when the police department asked me what had happened, I told them that I just remember feeling punches and kicks. I didn't know. I just remember falling over and over again.
Your mother was there.
That's right. She was there, Your Honor.
And your mother said that she observed exactly what happened. Do you want me to tell you what she said?
I know exactly what she says, Your Honor.
Miss Macias, I don't know why you're here. You both behaved badly 2 years ago. He could have been a little more temperate. He told you to leave his house. You didn't leave his house. He had the right to escort you out. You both behaved badly. What I want to know is why 2 years down the road you are deciding to sue him.
I really was trying to honor my mother's respect because my mother's begging me not to bring her to court against both of us.
Right, she's absolutely right. So why didn't you honor her now?
And that was the reason.
So why didn't you honor her now?
Because after I found out that the DA's office had not taken care of it, Your Honor, and I continue to have so many problems and pains, and I ended up having to have a back surgery and a broken finger through this, Your Honor. I have all the records here and the doctor's report.
When you go to someone's home, even if it's your brother's home, and he tells you to leave, that you're not welcome there, and there has been a long history of applications for protective orders by you and by your brother, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to leave. You're not supposed to argue with him.
I didn't argue, Your Honor. I just told him I needed my mother's medicine and her clothing.
Then you leave without your mother, and you make arrangements to come back and get her another time.
Well, I didn't want
to. If he tells you to leave, Miss Macias, it's not as if you hadn't seen your mother. You saw her, according to him, 5 days before at your house for Mother's Day. And he hasn't prevented you from picking her up. That day, he told you he wanted you to leave. That's what you should have done. I think that you both behaved badly, but it doesn't require a lawsuit 2 years later, and it doesn't require court involvement. And I certainly believe that you should have honored your mother's wishes because it's a family dispute, and it should have stayed within the family. The case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This is actually, I believe, the 8th or 9th time we have faced each other off in court.
All I can say is this guy is like a very, very pathological liar.
The restraining orders had to do with her stalking my young son at school.
I have never stalked his son in any way. Me and his son loved each other very much.
She threatened violence before, and she's trained in martial arts, and she's trained by the police academy. She likes to shoot, and she owns a 9mm Smith & Wesson that she's very good with.
First of all, I have never attended the police academy, which is another one of his professional lies.
I believe justice was served. I think the judge took the right avenue by seeing through the false accusations, and I feel vindicated.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morathi versus McCarty, step forward, please.
Child care provider Gina Morathi is suing her ex-husband, mental health associate Franklin McCarty, for stealing her income tax return. Franklin says he supported Gina and her 3 children for 7 years.
Miss Morathi, who is this gentleman?
This is my husband, John.
Okay, and this is your former husband?
Correct.
How long were you married?
We were married for 6 years.
You have children together?
We have 1 child.
How old?
He's 6.
And you have children from a previous marriage?
Correct. And that
How many?
I have 3.
According to your complaint, an income tax return that was due you was deposited in a joint bank account.
Correct.
That it had not been switched over after or during your separation and during the divorce. And Mr. McCarthy used that money.
Correct.
And he doesn't deny that, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How much was the income tax refund that you got?
I was supposed to receive $3,012.
Your defense is that you supported her and her 3 children for years.
Yes, ma'am.
And the money is yours.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Wrong. You chose to marry somebody who had 3 children. If that's what you did, you supported her and the 3 children and your child while you were married. It's fine. You don't get a reward for that. You don't get to keep her income tax return. Okay. So that's no defense. You have no defense if you spent her money. Yes, you want to say something?
Yes, ma'am. For me, supporting her kids, it wasn't my obligation to do it. It was her previous husband.
You're absolutely right. You don't have to do it.
So through discussions that we had while we were together, she was going to take him back to court for back child support and also for medical expenses. And I was going to let her keep that. I wasn't going to argue because that is actually more than what the case is all about. Because through all this, her mother and I put my insurance and money into the oldest daughter having dental. The oldest daughter...
Mr. McCarthy, listen to me very carefully, sir. I know that when you got this money, when you realized that it was her income tax refund, you were lying in bed with your eyes open and conjuring up all the reasons to support your argument that that money should morally... I'm speaking. You made me bite my lip because you went to interrupt me. That money should legitimately be yours because you took on the responsibility of her 3 children and she was supposed to get that money from her husband. If she got the money from her ex-husband, you would have let her keep that money, but she never got the money from her ex-husband, so you couldn't let her keep it, but now she's got some money from an income tax refund from her job, so that should be yours. That's what you're telling me.
No, ma'am, that's not correct. We didn't know until June of this year that her income tax came in. because of the IRS told her that they were going to take her income tax because of her bankruptcy. So when the money came in and I opened my new account, I had direct deposit from previous jobs, my state income tax, my regular income tax, and a paycheck still going to that account before everything would be switched over. So when I went in there, I said, I need to take this much out, because I asked for my balance. I said, okay, I need to leave $1,650 in there and open a new account.
Just a second. Why were you leaving First of all, you want me to believe that for 6 months you didn't look at this account and you just have your checks go in. Are you independently wealthy? You live on a trust fund?
No, ma'am, I don't.
All right. Most people who have a job and they're waiting for their income tax returns, especially when they're getting $4,000 back, they know when it goes in there.
Yes, ma'am.
And you get a statement, and that statement shows that not only did your $4,000 go in there, but somebody else's $3,000 went in there.
No, ma'am, I don't look at my bank statements.
Well, my dear, you should. Did you take any money out of this account after your check went in?
Yes, ma'am.
How much?
$870.
What was that for?
That was a gift from him to help me out when I took a 2-week leave of absence from work.
And you were already separated at this time?
Correct.
Yeah, get over it. Get over it. He doesn't have to be a real idiot. Why should she make a gift to you of $870?
Well, we have a son together.
So what? Especially when you find that you have money in the bank. Then you say, listen, I don't want you to give me this $870, because if I really needed money, now that we know that there was $3,000 in there that belonged to me, just give me the difference. Now, if you got this $2,142 back, it's my understanding from your papers that you went through a personal bankruptcy. Is that right? Who gets this $2,142?
United States Bankruptcy Court.
So you are really here on behalf of the United States Bankruptcy Court, is that what you're saying?
I was ordered to turn it over.
You had how much in debt when you filed bankruptcy?
Approximately $20,000.
And to whom?
A lot of medical bills, basically.
What were the medical bills for?
Psychiatric.
Whose?
Mine.
So if I were to award this money, the check would be made out to the United States Bankruptcy Court. Is that right?
Correct.
And that's what you want?
Yes.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,142. The check is to be made out. Make sure that my clerk has the bankruptcy court number. Okay. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused in the matter of Vadvilovich versus Cash. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You're welcome. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Vadvilovich, the defendant is your former boyfriend. You say he owes you money for a car down payment and a cruise. He says he doesn't owe you any money. As a matter of fact, you owe him money. You damaged his car. You had a hissy fit. You had an accident with a car that he's being held liable for it. So after a very short relationship, each of you claim the other owes them in excess of $5,000. So let's start with you. When did you first meet him, and when did you make the first loan?
I first met Mr. Cash the end of January of 2004.
And when did you make the first loan, and what was it for?
The first loan was made at the end of February for down payment on his, I believe it's an 01 Chevrolet Corvette Z06.
So you met him in January?
Yes.
February, you gave him money?
Correct.
That was pretty stupid.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Tell me about how that came about.
We both had a mutual love of vehicles, of cars, and he had talked about his ultimate dream car was a yellow Corvette. And he called me one day and he said, oh my God, there's one at a dealership. It's a used car, it's a great deal, blah, 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 and just was in a lather about it. And he wanted to borrow the money, and he convinced me that it was a good deal. He was in a panic that this car was going to go. He said somebody else was looking at the vehicle, and he needed the money right away, and so on and so on. So I went down to the dealership and I wrote a check to the agency with the understanding that it was a loan.
Just a second. Don't tell me what the understanding. You wrote a check for how much?
$4,000.
And what did Mr. Cash tell you with regard to repaying this money?
He was supposed to...
Now, what did he say?
He said that he would pay it back eventually. We were in a relationship. He had me convinced that he was a good guy. Basically, what I found is that he was a predator. I found him, at that time,
it was $4,000, and he says, "Listen to me," and he said to you, "I'll pay you back eventually." Mm-hmm. That was in February of 2004.
Correct.
between February 2004 and July 2004, did he make any payments on the $4,000?
No.
So then in July of 2004, tell me what you did.
In July of 2004, we were at the auto club. He didn't have an auto club membership. He had just been canceled off of his ex-girlfriend's membership. And so at the time we were at the auto club, they were also had billboards about cruises. And he's like, oh, it would be so great to go on a cruise, and convinced me to go on a cruise, and let's put a down payment on a cruise. And instead of doing the inexpensive cruise, he wanted to go to the 7-day Mexican Riviera cruise. And at that point, he put $500 on his credit card. Well, it's an ATM credit card. And then I gave him a check for that amount to cover the down payment.
You have your canceled check to him for that?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
It was bundled into this. He borrowed the full amount.
It was bundled.
Is there any reason why you didn't list these other amounts as loans in your complaint?
Well, if I were to actually total up everything that I loaned Mr. Cash over the 8 months that we were together, it's in excess of $20,000.
Shh. Do you have the checks to show?
Yes.
Just give me some examples, please.
I paid his mortgage twice. Let's see, I paid for, the ones that are written to the DMV are actually for, he would convince me, oh, I left my checkbook at home when we went to the DMV, and he had to go and register all his vehicles. This is the check for the balance of the cruise that he deposited, and he proceeded to say that his mom was very, very ill. The very next day, he cancels the cruise, keeps the money, and buys an air conditioner for his friend's house because he's in a wannabe rock band. And
to go no further.
Okay.
Mr. Cash.
Yes, Your Honor.
What was all this money for, sir?
The money was basically, we agreed approximately in February of 2004, I was going to purchase a Corvette. She actually offered to make the down payment for the Corvette for me.
I'm talking about all this money, sir.
All the money in total?
I'm talking about all this money.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Basically, she bought a Mustang from me, a Ford Mustang, and then had me customize the Ford Mustang, because customizing cars is my hobby.
Just a second. She bought a Ford Mustang when?
On approximately March 19th of 04.
March of 2004.
Correct.
At that time, you already owed her a considerable amount of money.
No, Your Honor. No, because what happened is we agreed in February that this arrangement would happen. She took possession of the car on March 19th of 04. Also, she purchased other cars, which she was going to have me customize, also do repairs to her house.
I'm not interested,
so all the checks
I'm not
are for all
interested
the
in repairs for that. So what you're telling me is these checks, thousands and thousands of dollars, represent automobiles that she purchased from you.
Amongst other things, I bailed her out of jail. There was lots of things that the money went toward.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have an estimate for...
Don't give me an estimate. I'm not interested in an estimate.
Those are the
What do you think, I'm stupid?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Ann Vadvilovich says ex-boyfriend David Cash owes for a loan to buy the car of his dreams and for a share of a cruise.
Now, let's deal with the cars first.
Sure.
How much did she purchase the Mustang for, sir?
She purchased the Mustang for approximately, at the time...
No, look at me.
I'm looking at you.
I don't want to hear approximately. Okay. I want to hear, if you make a sale, because that's what you do, what amount did you sell her the Mustang for?
I sold it for $12,000.
$12,000.
Plus a trade in the difference of the balance of what the car was actually worth, which was the difference in the checks. So in other words, the car was worth $17,000 at the time. I took $12,000 as one cash check, plus other checks to make up that balance. Those are the other checks that you are seeing, is for the difference. So the total was $17,000.
When did you deliver the title to her?
I'm not exactly sure of the date, but I...
Give me the month and year, sir.
I have the exact date, I'm sorry. Because she had an accident the same day. It was March 19th. It was the same day. That was March 19th that she took.
Then I assume she had paid for the car.
Not in full.
How much did she owe?
Probably about $4,000 still.
And despite the fact that she owed approximately $4,000 on the car, Mr. Cash, you gave her the registration. And did you have a bill of sale?
I had a bill of sale. I do have a copy of that.
I'd like to see it.
Sure.
Excuse me if I may.
Shh. Just a second.
All right.
And, Your Honor, I also have the receipt.
Shh. This says the car was purchased for $12,000, sir, on March 19th. Correct. That's what this says.
Correct.
According to you, she paid off that amount. The only thing she didn't pay off as of March 19th was $4,000. That's what you say. That's what you just told me. Is that correct, sir?
That is what I just told you, yes.
And I assume you wouldn't tell that to me unless it was true. Is that right?
That's correct. The difference
I'm
is
speaking.
the agreement. Sorry?
So, subsequent to the 19th of March, she gave you checks totaling in excess of $16,700.
It's possible. I don't know the amount of the check.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. I've examined the endorsements on each of those checks, sir. And that doesn't even include the registration for some cars that she made out to DMV. I'm talking about just the checks made out to you and or cashed by you, made out to cash. That's almost $17,000, sir. So you want to explain that to me? And I don't want to hear anything about working around the house. Did you sell her any other property that you have a bill of sale for?
Yeah,
Show me.
I did. Okay.
Show me.
What I have done for 2 cars, I have the receipts that I paid for the merchandise, for the carts that she bought for the Jeep, which was part of the arrangement. I also have receipts for the Ford Mustang, for all the customizing work and parts I bought, the shipping for the parts, many of those items on that.
Good. Let's take the Mustang. I want you to go over all those bills, and I want you to give me an idea, Mr. Cash, of how much you spent on customizing this car for the plaintiff.
I have one receipt right here for $1,664.
$1,664. Good.
Right.
What's next?
I have another receipt for $274.27.
Go ahead.
$136.
Go ahead.
And I have an estimate.
Don't give me an estimate. I'm not interested in an estimate.
Those are the
What do you
only-
think, I'm stupid?
Those are the only receipts that I have.
Giving you the benefit of all doubt, sir, that's $2,000. What are we doing with the other $15,000, sir?
Well, there.
Well is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Show me a bill of sale or bills.
I have
You kept some.
receipts for the Jeep.
Who owns the Jeep?
She owns the Jeep.
How much the bills on the Jeep?
This one is $11.50.
$11. Shh, please.
This one is $534.97.
Okay.
This one's $45.
Go ahead.
$240.22.
Go ahead.
$45.52.
Go ahead.
$111.32. $27.04. $138.53. $100. $46.54.
Go ahead.
$117.98. $2.15.
Go ahead.
Those are the only receipts that I kept.
So that
I have.
amounts to, and my quick math would, looking at it, say it's another $1,500. On the Mustang, I'm giving you the benefit of every doubt, sir. We have $2,000, $3,500, $16,700 minus $3,500 equals $13,200. Do you have any other bills that you want to attribute to her other than work you did around the house, sir? The answer is either yes or no.
We have items that the checks went for trips that we shared.
No, I don't want to hear that.
Okay.
No.
And I have a receipt for when I had bailed her out of jail on an arrest she had.
Okay, good. How much did it cost you to bail her out, sir?
It was $3,000.
Equals $10,200.
I also paid on my credit card kennel fees for when her
I'm not
animals-
interested in that.
But that was part
I'm
of the
not
money.
interested in kennel fees. Now, from that $10,200, I'm also giving you the benefit of every doubt, sir. I'm taking off $4,000 that you say she still owed you on the car, right? $6,200, giving you benefit of the doubt for every single thing that you say. So, what else?
The rest was for the labor to get the things on the cars done, and for labor that I've done around the house for her, for repairing $2,000 worth
Forget
of
labor.
air conditioning. That was
She's
our
going to
arrangement.
tell me about labor.
That was our agreement. And I had never asked for money. This was never a loan. These were just pay. I've never asked, give me money, I'm going to loan you something, or to pay. There was no arrangements, there was no terms. This was entirely, if something was done, here's a check for it. Everything was great until all of a sudden she was upset. that she couldn't be with me in a relationship. When that one happened, she got upset. She started breaking into my house. I have police reports that attest to that. I have audio tape that attests to the problems that went on like that. And part of my suit is where she drove into my car in retaliation and damaged the car.
No,
That's
the
a
major
separate
part
issue.
of your counterclaim is that she had an accident in the Mustang before you gave her title to the car.
No, it was the day. She had the accident the day that she took possession of the car, Your Honor. That's one part of it. The other part was my vet. She actually drove into the back of the car on purpose in the driveway.
No, I'm not talking about that yet, sir. Sure. I'm talking about your counterclaim is for $5,000. You say that she tried to get entrance to your house. That was $200, and it'll cost another $1,500 to fix your Corvette, but you're suing her for $5,000, and that is because you say she had an accident in the Mustang, and you're being held liable for that.
That's correct.
Didn't you have insurance on the Mustang?
No, because I was not operating the car prior to giving her possession.
Well, that's your problem, sir.
Well,
that is, listen to me. That's your problem. She can't get insurance. She had no insurable interest in the car until you turned over the title to her. So, what else?
Let's see what else we have. The damage to the driving into my car. She broke into.
Just a second. Did you damage his car?
No.
Tell me what happened to your car.
What happened is that she came to my house wanting. It happened twice. The first time was on September 5th of '04. Where she forced her way into the home. She broke through a front window of the house to gain entrance. I was inside. She came to the door. I told her I wasn't interested in having her over. She broke through the window. So there was a repair to the window. I called 911, had the sheriffs respond to that. I believe I do have reports.
What did she want at that time? Did she tell you?
She was ranting and raving.
What did she want, sir? What did she say to you?
It was incoherent. I don't even know why she was there.
What were you saying to him?
I was telling him that the way he was treating me was unfair. I told him that I felt that it was very wrong of him to allow me to
That's not what you... Listen to me. What were you going over there to discuss with him? The fact that he was treating you shabbily?
Shabbily, yes.
Oh, okay.
And for the record, I did not break into the house.
Just a second. That's what she came over for. He didn't want to see you. You should have left. You got it?
Correct. Yes.
Doesn't want to see you. You leave. So September 5th, she was complaining in a very loud fashion that you were treating her shabbily. I assume you had cut off contact at that point.
I had attempted. In fact, I went and filed a restraining order. And then again, on 10 of '04, this happened again, where she forced way into the house, took items from my house, including much of the paperwork that I can't present to you today for the balance of the check, keys to another vehicle of mine, which the next day showed up stolen. I had filed a police report on that, and in the police report...
Were you present in the house when she came in?
I had actually barricaded myself in the house.
Well, how did she... Just a minute. How did she get in and take all this property
She forced her way through the front door.
Okay. And go ahead, continue.
So I actually called the sheriff. The sheriffs that came out, had a restraining order on file. She had left numerous messages on my answering machine, all after the restraining order, which I have in the police report on file as well, attesting to those things.
Get to the damage to your Corvette, sir.
The damage to the Corvette. What happened is she left the house when the sheriffs asked her to leave the house.
On what day?
This was on 10 October of '04.
Okay.
And the sheriffs escorted her off the property. She drove back in her one of her cars, and my Corvette was parked in the driveway. And I was sitting out the window watching, and she drove into the back of the Corvette on purpose with her truck.
Do you have a copy of the police report on that, sir?
I believe I do.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. Actually, it doesn't list the Corvette in the report.
Well, let me see it, sir. If you bought this yellow Corvette, which I assume is the car you're talking about, car of your dreams, car that you really wanted to have.
It's just another car.
And if this is the car that you say she caused in excess of $1,000 worth of damage to, you would have reported that to the police when they came out.
I do. There's another report. I don't have that report with me. There's so many police reports. The sheriff told me they weren't even going to write.
Sir, you show me reports where you say she called you when she came to your house and spoke to your roommate, Mr. Martinez, that she said she had to see you. But if somebody caused physical damage to my car...
That's just one. I have another car in the driveway that she keyed alongside. I had one truck that she's stolen. Anything she could do to be vindictive to me.
Did she ever ask you for this money that she says you owed her?
No. No, not until at the end.
This is the first time she's asked you for the money?
No, actually, that is not correct. At the end, she told me that when I wouldn't get back together with her, that I'm going to take you to court, that I'm going to get this money out of you. And that,
get this money out of you, or get this money that you owe me that I thought we were going to be in a relationship?
Get this money out of you because I do not owe her money.
Yeah, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge 33 on the calendar in the matter of Loman versus Bogardus. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Lohman, this young man is your stepson.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you still married to his father?
No, I'm not.
So he's your former stepson.
Right.
How many years were you married to his father?
7 years.
And how old was he?
He's 21.
How old was he when you were married to his father?
In his teens,
In his
early
teens. According to your complaint, you maintained a nice relationship with him even after you separated from his father.
Yes, ma'am.
And he approached you sometime in April of last year and asked if he could rent a houseboat that you own. You made an agreement that as long as he paid the dock fees, which was sort of like the rent, and he was going to do some work on the houseboat, that you would let him rent it. So you really weren't asking him for any rent for the boat itself, but he was supposed to pay for the dock fees. You claim that for the 9 months that he lived there, from April until December, he did not pay you rent, did not pay the dock fees.
No.
Put your hand down. And when you finally received notice that he wasn't paying the dock fees and asked him to leave, you went to see what the place looked like, and it was a disaster that he damaged
Just a
it.
pigsty.
Okay. Mr. Bogardus says that he, in fact, paid the dock fees every month. He paid them to you, either some in cash and some by check. That's what you say in your answer. Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir.
And that he did a lot of work around the houseboat. He put in moldings and he fixed it up, so he doesn't know what you're complaining about, right?
Yes, that is.
Okay. You did, in fact, move into the houseboat in April of 2004.
Yes, I did.
And you were there until December of 2004.
Yes.
How much were the dock fees?
Like $395.
Well, you shouldn't have to think about it. How much were the dock fees?
$395.
And you paid those each month from
Yes, I did.
April until December.
Till December 1st.
You paid some by check, some cash.
Yes, mostly by cash.
But you paid, according to you, some by
Yep.
check. So
Yep.
now I'll see the checks that you gave her for the $395.
I don't have any check stubs from it. I'm real bad on keeping stuff like that with me.
How old are you?
21.
Let me explain something to you. When you have a checking account, and we're talking about something that happened a couple of months ago, and you know you're coming to court, Mr. Bogardus, and you say that you paid some by check, you bring the checks, and you don't say, I'm real bad about it. You're not bad about getting yourself up and trimming your goatee in the morning, are you?
No, I'm not, Your Honor.
Then you bring the checks if you're coming to court. If you want me to believe you. Otherwise, I think that you're full of baloney. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Now, did you work from April until December?
Yes, I did.
Who did you work for?
Subway sandwiches.
And you're paid by check.
Yes, I am.
How did you pay her the cash payments that you made each month?
I withdrawed it from my checking account.
Show me the paperwork where you withdrew $395 each month to give her for the dock fees.
I don't have any of those receipts.
Well, what did you think you were coming here for today, sir? For me to tell you how nice your hair was combed?
No?
Well, what did you think you were coming for?
To defend myself, so
Well, how can you defend yourself without any proof, sir?
Guess I can't.
You guess right. Because if one had the proof, one would bring it. And if you didn't bring it, it's because it doesn't exist. How much were the dock fees?
$395 a month.
$3,555 for the dock fees over the 9 months that he was there, which he didn't pay because he has no proof that he paid it. Now, let's get to the way the boat looked when you reclaimed it. You have photographs?
I do have some photographs.
I'd like to see it.
The first picture is what the boat looked like on the outside. The outside was not messed up like the inside, fortunately.
This isn't a houseboat, it's a boat.
Well,
it's a
no,
sailboat.
it's Sleep 6. It's a sloop.
But it's not a houseboat.
No,
not
it's
called a
sailboat.
houseboat.
The bottom picture is a microwave, and he put a metal rack in it. Now everybody knows that a metal rack.
All right.
Your Honor.
What?
I did not put a metal rack. I'm not that
So
stupid
far, I
to
don't
know
see anything that
you
looks
don't-
so untoward. Do you have any other pictures you want me to, see?
Well, on the next page, the hole that's in the bottom, that's in front of the sink, and then also the generator that was missing. That was so he could do the work on the houseboat.
What do you mean it was missing? I don't understand.
It's no longer there.
What happened to the generator?
I don't know. Someone could have stolen it off from where the house was, or the boat was. Why would I steal a stupid little generator?
I also have a price list if you'd like these.
No.
Before Parker moved in, I bought a new stovetop with oven for him to put in. He said he'd replace these things for me. I bought the microwave for him to put in, also the generator. Then I've got all the things that you make it so it converts into things. And then I bought a refrigerator, which was also, when I walked in, the place, it looked like he'd partied, just had a great old
Ms.
time.
Loman, let me explain something to you. Boys take a lot longer to mature. This one, even if he's a good kid, and I don't know whether he is or whether he isn't, You know, I assumed that if you let him use this expensive piece of property, that you thought he was a good kid. They're all babies. They sort of catch up from the time before they get to Social Security. Sometimes they get smart. But if you rent to a teenager a party boat and expect him not to party, Miss Lohman, you're operating somewhere out there on Pluto.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She didn't hatch you. She didn't bring you up until you were a teenager. She did something very nice, and you rewarded her by not doing the right thing. And that always comes back to bite you in the behind.
And later today,
I was not in any hurry.
Stop shaking your head. It's irritating to me. You don't want to irritate me before I hear your side of the case, do you?
No.
So stop it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Tisa Lohman says her former stepson, Parker Bogardus, trashed her boat. Tisa also claims Parker owes for unpaid slip fees.
Okay. So the fact that he left food out and the place reeked, because that's what you say, that you walked in there and it smelled, it looked like it hadn't been cleaned in months. He's lucky he cleans himself. He's lucky he cleans himself. She did something very nice for you, Mr. Bogardus. She doesn't owe you a thing. She didn't hatch you. She didn't bring you up until you were a teenager. She did something very nice, and you rewarded her by not doing the right thing. And that always comes back to bite you in the behind. And if it doesn't come back today to bite you in the behind, someday you'll do something nice for somebody else, and they will repay your kindness by an unkindness, and you'll know how it feels.
I guess I will when it happens, then.
Yeah, I guess you will. Right now, you're going to pay $3,550. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We'll never have a relationship again, which is a bummer.
I'm not a bad guy. I paid what I had to pay.
Well, I loved him like a son.
I guess, oh well, then she's not my real mom.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Krolick versus Killen, step forward, please.
Hairstylist Phil Krolick is suing his former friend, realtor Donnie Killen, for a loan to attend massage therapy school. Donnie claims Phil made the tuition payments behind his back.
Mr. Krolick, you and the defendant were friends, and according to your complaint, you made a loan to him for school tuition.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Mr. Callen acknowledges that you paid $2,000 for his tuition at massage therapy school, and according to him, it was a gift. He never made a contract with you for repayment. Is that right?
Correct.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding this loan, Mr. Krolick.
Your Honor, the defendant came to me in June of last year, in 2004, and had expressed the idea of going to massage therapy school. He said
What was he doing at the time?
He was a real estate agent, Your Honor. He said that he was checking into the school. He didn't have enough money to go pay for it himself. Shh. He asked me if he could borrow the money, and I felt like I wanted to help him. He was my friend. I was given help when I got into my career, and so I got the money together and wrote a check.
Who did you write the check to?
I wrote the check to the school, Your Honor, and I do have that for you.
I also have a copy, Your Honor.
Mr. Killen, don't speak until I look in your direction.
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to have an opportunity to testify. Right now, it's his turn. We know about turns?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Did you give him this check?
No, Your Honor. I took it down to the school.
Was he with you when you took it to the school?
He was there that day, Your Honor, I believe.
Was he with you when you took the check to the school?
Not immediately, no.
Okay. What was the conversation that you had immediately preceding you taking this down to the school?
We had discussed that he needed to have some time to pay it back. I was not in any hurry.
Stop shaking your head. What you're doing is in the form of testifying, sir, and it's irritating to me. You don't want to irritate me before I hear your side of the case, do you?
No.
That would be a very dumb thing for you to do. And what you're doing is irritating me.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
stop it.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, we discussed that he would need a grace period. It's a clientele building business. I'm in a clientele building business.
What kind of business are you in?
I'm a hairstylist, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I knew it would take him time to get established, and I wasn't worried about getting the money immediately. So we decided we would have installments that he would pay me a few months after he got out of school. He was my best friend. I wasn't trying to put him in a situation that would set him up for failure.
Did you complete the course?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you currently working in that field?
No, ma'am. The
Why not?
license laws in the state of Illinois have changed. You need an additional 400 hours.
400 hours for what?
In order to become licensed with the state. You need another 400 hours of class.
Of class?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when do you intend to do that?
Actually, at this point in time, I don't intend to. The discussion about...
I'm asking you specific questions.
Okay.
So you haven't gone back to work in this field?
Not in this field.
Go ahead.
You know, I made several attempts to collect this money from him. with no success, and I decided I had no choice.
Now I'll hear you, sir.
There was never any talk of a loan, Your Honor. The matter was discussed around about May 11th when I was at an appointment at his salon. He did free haircuts and manicures for me because I was his best friend. We discussed approximately around then. I looked into actually the massage school itself. On May the 17th, I enrolled. I actually have a payment plan agreement with the school from when I enrolled.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
So you agreed to pay the school?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So you had every intention of paying for this career-enhancing service?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Go ahead.
When I started school on June the 7th was actually the first day of school. I had gone in and found that Mr. Kralik had made the $2,000 payment to the school, and we had a small discussion after that about him going in and doing it. He did it before I actually made it to class that day, and he said that this was just something he did for friends. He assisted friends in this manner.
He didn't say to you something like, you know, when you have a tuition plan at the school, you have to pay them a certain time. But I figure if I gave you this $2,000, we can have a more flexible repayment schedule, you know, when you get clients or when you get
No,
back
ma'am,
into
the school was
business.
very flexible with their payment plans, but I had $15,000 worth of closings coming up in the next couple of months, which I could have actually paid the school and had every
Fine.
intention.
That's very nice. Now, and you're no longer friends.
No.
And you had this $15,000 from your real estate coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you feel it would be appropriate, if you had all intentions of paying for the school, sir, to give him back the money that he invested?
He, on several occasions, had held it above my head in arguments.
He held it over your head in
Anytime.
arguments. What, like what?
Anytime there was an argument, he'd always say, well, I paid for your massage school. And I had actually voiced to him, well, then on my next closing, I will give you the money back. That
Yes.
way, you'll just leave me alone and not bother me anymore with it. And he had told me on those several occasions he would not cash those checks. I told him I knew who he borrowed the money from, and I would go write the check directly to him.
So are you telling me, Mr. Killen, that the plaintiff borrowed money, because he didn't have the $2,000 in cash, to give it to you for school tuition, because you didn't have the money at the time, but you were expecting $15,000 in within a couple of weeks? Is that what you're telling me?
Correct, ma'am.
You're some piece of work, Mr. Killen.
He has never requested payment. He's never asked for any
Well,
payment
what do you
on
think
this.
he's doing
There was
here?
never any
you think
establishment
he's
of a
doing?
loan.
I'm speaking. You think he's here, sir, because he wants to ask me out on a date?
I think he's here because...
He's here because he wants his $2,000.
I think he's here because this is another of his vindictive actions. He does this to everyone.
Well,
and I even have a witness to testify to his vindictive actions.
To you?
To his vindictive
To
actions
you?
towards me, yes.
Tell me your name.
My name's Chris.
Chris, you have a last name.
Eddie.
How do you know him?
I don't know Mr. Kralik. The only time I met him was when I was assisting Donnie from moving from his apartment into the condo that he had purchased.
And?
There was a discussion while we were at the condo. Mr. Kralik made the comment that he wouldn't make Mr. Killen go through the property management to get his deposit back if they were still friends. We had to...
Just a second. If they were still friends, he wouldn't make Mr. Killen go through the property manager to get his deposit back.
Right.
Okay, that's the vindictive testimony that you wanted me to hear? I just want to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, good. Mr. Killen, you're a big boy. Take care of your obligations. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's
Thank
all.
you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There was never a loan. He's just vindictive, and that's the reason we're here.
I'm very pleased with her verdict. I think justice won.
He was very violent. He threw a phone at me at one point in time.
I've never been violent. I've never thrown a phone.
Very argumentative.
A pillow, maybe, not a phone.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Dixon versus Gordon. Step forward, please.
26-year-old waitress Tiffany Dixon is suing her ex-boyfriend, barber Charles Gordon, for damages to her car and for a loan to go to barber school.
Miss Dixon, I've read your complaint and I've read your answer, sir. And from what I gather, Mr. Gordon, hopefully, is your ex-boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have 2 children together.
Yes, ma'am.
One wasn't enough. You claim that he owes you some money.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you, in addition to making the mistake of getting involved with him, you loaned him $900, according to you, so that he could attend barber school.
Yes, ma'am.
And then on 2 separate occasions, 2 separate months, you allowed him to drive your car, and your car was damaged while it was in his possession.
Yes, ma'am.
You want him to pay for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Gordon says that you are a very, very lucky person to have him in your life, that you adored him, and that's why you gave him the money for barber school, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And he didn't damage your car. One of his other girlfriends may have damaged it, scratched it up while it was in his possession, but he shouldn't be responsible for that because he personally didn't do it, right?
That's right. I don't know if no girl did it or not either.
But somebody else did it while it was in your possession.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
It wasn't Bird, was it?
Not sure.
Cute. What do you do for a living, Mr. Gordon?
I do it all. You know, from the north to south, east to the west.
He's in Barber College, Your Honor.
He's in Barber College?
I don't need nobody to speak for me. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
When you took the money for barber school, Mr. Gordon, what had you been doing just prior to that?
What I've been doing a lot of things. Making the ends meet, you know. They connecting, you know, real connecting, real good. You know, she gave me one thing. Do a lot of things, you know, just to make ends meet, like I said.
When was the last time you filed tax returns, Mr. Gordon?
Filed tax returns. I do that every year. Got to do that every year.
When was the last year?
Is it April 15th yet?
What's your Social Security number? We'll check. Listen to me very carefully. I would like to be able to continue with your case. Unfortunately, I'm not able to communicate reasonably with Mr. Gordon, so he is not able at this time to present a valid, cogent defense to me.
But, I mean, I can just...
He can't answer my question. I mean, I'm asking relatively simple questions, and I'm not able to get from him the answers that I need.
You can talk directly to, you can ask me.
I asked you, sir, I asked you what your Social Security number was.
Your Honor.
Just, that's what I asked you. That was my question.
I mean, what I would tell my Social Security number to for?
You say you file tax returns every year. I want to check.
What does tax returns have to do with this?
Because I asked you a question, sir. I said, prior to going to barber school, what did you do? You said you did what you had to do to make ends meet. That's not an answer to my question.
Okay, well, if he want to come over here and get some paperwork,
no.
I might have some paperwork. He can read it.
Do you understand what, Miss Dixon, do you understand what I just said to you? I cannot complete this case.
Your Honor, please.
I can't.
If I can't present my evidence...
You can't present your evidence, Miss Dixon, because I cannot communicate with the defendant. Do you understand? I mean, if this is the way he communicates...
No, he doesn't communicate. I don't know if it's because of television. I don't know what it is, Your Honor.
Television. We on TV?
Goodbye.
Down in the matter of Lopez versus Malden. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Miss Lopez, it is your claim that the defendant, who is the mother of a former roommate of yours...
Yes.
...stole your dog and her puppies, and you want to be compensated to the tune of $1,900.
Yes.
The defendant says that you neglected this dog, that she spent over $1,000 in vet bills putting the dog in a reasonable condition, and that she ultimately sold the puppies. We'll find out what you did with the dog. I understand that this was not the first time your dog had puppies, according to your complaint. Is that right?
That's correct.
What kind of a dog was it?
It was a Chipu, half Chihuahua, half Poodle.
Where did you get the dog from?
It was a Christmas gift to my daughter from her father for Christmas of 2002.
How many litters have you had with this dog?
This is the second one.
Who did you breed her with?
It was actually a situation where there was a dog, a poodle, that lived around my area. And I had a doggy door, and the dog was able to squeeze through my gate. And while I was at work, she got pregnant while I was at work.
So what you're telling me is you don't know really who the father was?
No, I do. I know the dog. I know the dog.
So it was an accident?
Yes.
Why didn't you have the dog spayed?
Because I figured that I had it fixed. I had intentions of doing it, but it happened too quickly.
Well, that doesn't happen too quickly, madam. You got the dog as a puppy in December of 2002. Well, in 6 months, you had the dog spayed. And if you didn't have the dog spayed, then you know that you run the risk of the dog having puppies.
Well, I had intentions of maybe breeding her, but I wasn't expecting it to happen the way it did.
In August of 2004, she had her first litter?
Yes, that's correct.
And is that the first time that Miss Malden helped you?
Yes, that is correct.
And tell me about that.
Well, I was at work, and I had another roommate at the time. And when she let me know that our dog Zoe was going to have puppies and that she didn't know what to do, so she contacted Christy to help her out.
Well, you told me she called you at
Well,
work.
she called me, right, to tell me, and
she called you at work, and what did you do, Miss Lopez?
I was going to come home, and she's like, and then I was going to come home. She said that she knows Heather. Heather's mom is good with dogs, so she's going to call Heather's mother and see if she would help her out. So she...
Why didn't you go home?
Because I was working, and I couldn't... I was... because I had... My roommate told me that she was able to handle it, so I didn't go home.
How many puppies were delivered in August 2004?
There were 4.
All born alive?
Yes, all of them.
All of them survive?
Yes.
Did you sell all 4?
I sold 2.
What happened to the other 2?
The other 2 is a sad story.
Well, let me hear. I'm interested in sad stories. 4 were born alive. You sold 2. What happened to the other 2?
Okay, well, my...
Let's get the story, please. Are the other 2 alive or dead?
No, they died.
When did they die?
They died about 2 months after they were, or a month and a half after they were born.
Were they in your custody when they died?
They were.
Had they been taken to a vet up until that time? The answer is yes or no.
No.
Okay. So now you have puppies that are 6 weeks old that you didn't know how to deliver. 2 of them died after they reached a month and a half old. So that was clearly your fault.
No. It wasn't...
What did they die from?
Well, okay, again, I had to go to work, and it was hot. It was in the summer. So my air conditioner broke, and my dog, it was... How to explain this? Okay. It was really hot. My dog was... Okay. I ended up putting... Okay, I had a doghouse outside on my patio, and I put my dog and the puppies outside at night because my air conditioner broke at night, and it was extremely hot. It was so extremely hot. Well, it was cooler night, so I put them outside, and again, my roommate and I agreed, that I would, that they would go outside. I'd go to work in the morning. She would go and pick, and take them and bring them back in the house. Well, I went to work, and she ended up sleeping in, and I guess two of the puppies crawled out of their doghouse, and they died.
So again, it was somebody else's fault?
No, it was not somebody else's fault. It was my fault.
Good. Okay, now you should have understood, Miss Lopez, that breeding dogs was not for you.
I wasn't breeding them. It was an accident. It wasn't something...
An accident happens once.
Okay.
Then you take the dog to have the dog spayed.
Right.
You did not.
No, I did not.
So the dog got pregnant again. Do you want to tell me how that happened?
It was by the same dog. And it was the same way.
Same dog, same way. And you did the same thing. You called the defendant.
I called her this time, yes.
I said you called the defendant.
Yes.
I read your complaint, and you called her and said what?
And I told her, my roommate trusted that you helped deliver Zoe's first litter, and I was like, I need to go to work again. And I asked her if I could bring Zoe over so that she could assist in making sure that she was okay, because I realized that her water broke. And so she, I asked her and she agreed. So I went over there and I dropped Zoe off, and I told her that I would come back and, check up on the puppies.
Well, when did you come back?
I went to work, and then I came back the following day.
When did she have the puppies?
She had them that day.
What was the date?
It was January. It was about January 30th.
Is that the date?
So it was
What's the date?
She brought them to my house on the 20th. She delivered the puppies the 21st in the evening.
She delivered the puppies on the 21st?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she come back?
Sunday.
Which is what date?
Well, that would be the 23rd.
3 days after she brought the dog to your house?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Miss Lopez, between August of 2004, when your dog had the first litter,
right,
and January of 2005, how many vet visits did your dog have?
She had 2 vet visits.
You have the forms?
I don't have those.
What were the visits for?
It was just a checkup. That's it. Getting her shots, and that was it.
What's the name of the vet?
The vet, I don't have that information.
How many dogs do you have?
I only have 1 dog.
Well, if you only have 1 dog, then it's not a problem with remembering the name of the vet. You remembered what happened in August of 2004. pretty much verbatim.
Right.
So just the name of the doctor.
I don't have that information. I'm sorry.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You certainly don't have any room up here to take care of yourself, a 5-year-old, a dog, and 8 puppies, because you couldn't figure out that that doggy door was going to be open and closed and open and closed and open and closed. So you got to think about that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Veronica Lopez says her former roommate's mother, Christy Malden, stole her dog Zoe and Zoe's litter of puppies. Christy says Veronica has no right to be a pet owner.
Okay, Ms. Malden, the plaintiff brought the dog to your house on the 20th of January.
Yes.
You delivered how many puppies?
4.
Were you aware of the fact that the plaintiff was responsible for the death of 2 of the puppies that you had delivered the previous summer?
Yes, ma'am. I was very upset when I found that out.
After you delivered the 4 puppies, and they were all born alive?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they all survive?
Yes.
What happened with Zoe?
When Veronica called me on the 20th, she asked me if I could watch the dog. And I said, yes, I'm homesick today, so that'd be fine. I'll watch her for you. And she brought her over, and she said, I think her water broke. And so I watched her, and the dog, her water didn't break, but she kept throwing up. So that happened throughout the whole day on Thursday. Friday, she was pretty much the same, but she delivered the puppies, started around 5:30 on the 21st in the evening. And she had a hard time with those, so I had to assist her in those, pulling the puppies out because she's so small and so weak.
Somebody have a picture of this dog?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Here's one of the babies, too. That was when the puppies were 3 weeks old.
Okay. When did Zoe have to go to the vet?
Well, Sunday, Zoe started having diarrhea in the evening. By Monday, she was throwing up. I had put her in my bathroom with the babies and came back at lunch to check on them, and she was laying in both feces and nursing the puppies at the same time. Well, I then called Veronica and let her know, the situation, told her they needed to be taken to the vet. And she said...
You remember that phone call?
Yes, I do.
Did you rush home to take her to the vet?
I told her that I was going to come by and pick up the dog.
Did you?
I did not. No, I did not, because she didn't explain to me or go into detail on what exactly was happening.
I mean, is there something thick? She's had your dog the 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. She had the dog when the dog delivered the puppies, when the dog was vomiting, which she told you about. She had the dog when the dog had the puppies. Now she's calling you and saying, there's a problem. The dog has to go to the vet.
Right. See, I went to her house. It was 2 days after Zoe, or a day after Zoe had the puppies. I went over to her house to go visit my dog and the puppies.
I'm talking to you about the day she called you and said the dog is sick.
Right. But there's more that goes to that. And
how old's your daughter?
She is 5 years old.
Okay. Have you ever gotten a call from school and what's your daughter's name?
Alexis.
Alexis. Alexis is sick. You have to come and get her.
Yes.
And do you go after work?
And yes, I do.
You go after work. You say, you just hold her there. I'll be there when I can get there.
Yes, I do. I get off. No, I apologize. No, I don't tell her to hold on there. I get out of work and I go get my daughter. I apologize. I was missing.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Yes.
That's what this lady said. She said this dog is very ill and has to go to the vet.
I understand that.
What do you understand, Miss Lopez? What you have to understand at your age is you got enough on your plate without a dog.
Yeah.
You got enough on your plate taking care of yourself. Now you got enough on your plate taking care of yourself and a 5-year-old. You certainly don't have any room up here to take care of yourself, a 5-year-old, a dog, and 8 puppies, because you had 4, 2 you lost, and 2 more you had, because you couldn't figure out that that doggy door was going to be open and closed and open and closed and open and closed. So you got to think about that. You didn't use your brains to think about spaying the dog when you were supposed to. The dog got pregnant, had puppies. Because of your neglect, 2 died. So it would seem to me somebody in their right mind would say, listen, I'd better have this dog spayed now or move to a house that didn't have a doggy door. Not you. You kept the dog. You kept the doggy door. And what do you know? Neighbor's dog comes in again, and once again your dog is pregnant. And you are running to work. So you call somebody else to clean up after you.
Well, I was working, and she called me, and she told me she had already taken her to the vet.
No,
So
no.
This is after the conversation.
No. You said I'll be there.
Right.
Did you leave work?
No, I did not leave work.
What time do you get off from work?
Sometime in the afternoon, late afternoon.
Your Honor.
So you had no intention of going over there?
No, I did.
Did you go and say, I have to leave work?
Veronica Lopez claims her former roommate's mother, Christy Malden, stole her dog Zoe and gave away Zoe's litter of puppies.
What was the vet bill for Zoe?
It was $1,900.
Can I see what they had to do with the dog, please?
$1,009.88. Those are the doctor's notes.
They had to give your dog an IV catheter replacement, fluid therapy, fluid additives, plasma transfusion.
She had to have a
dog was hospitalized, spayed.
The dog was severely malnutritioned.
A dog that is malnutrition doesn't have 4 healthy puppies. My dog was well loved.
Tubman may concern. Zoe is a 2-year-old female terrier. She had given birth 2 days prior. She had been vomiting throughout the day and was in a moribund state. She had a fever, a life-threatening low blood calcium, and had lost 1/2 of her red blood cells. Saving her life required 4 days of hospitalization, a blood transfusion, a plasma transfusion, and abdominal surgery to remove her uterus that was continuing to bleed postpartum.
And I'm not denying any of that information. I know that my dog needed help. But the thing is okay, the first day I went to Miss Malden's house to go look at my dog and the puppies, I saw that they were in good care. I did. I saw that they were in great care. And I mentioned to Heather, for your mom doing, this good deed and whatever, I want to offer her one of the puppies. The first thing that she mentioned was that my mom doesn't want one of the puppies, she wants Zoe.
Well, because Zoe was the neglected one. Miss Lopez, listen to me very carefully, madam.
Yes.
Did you pay her the $1,000 that you spent at the vet?
No, because I didn't have $1,000, and that was...
Well, you didn't have $1,000. Where did she get $1,000 from?
She didn't, and that's not... I told her, okay, after she mentioned that, the next day, the following day, after I had the conversation with Miss Malden at work, she told me she was going to take her to the vet, and I told her that I was going to go ahead and take care of it. I was going to take Zoe to the vet myself.
A vet whose name you can't remember. Did you give her back the $1,000? She paid the bill. The answer is
no.
No. Good. Where are the puppies?
I sold them after they turned 6 weeks old.
Okay. How much did you get for the puppies?
I got $300 for 2 of them, $200 for 2 of them, and then I sold Zoe for $300.
Who did you sell Zoe to?
I don't know who they were. I did screen the homes, though.
I don't know if I believe that, Miss Malden.
I don't, really. I don't.
I read the complaint. I read your answer. And I am, quite frankly, sympathetic with your position. But legally, you had no right to sell her dog. You understand that?
Yes.
She has no right to have a dog.
This is correct.
She doesn't know how to take care of them.
Right.
She's neglectful. She has a very full plate. And she has no right to act irresponsibly.
Right.
She caused the death of 2 puppies. She almost caused the death of Zoe because of her neglect, and she was perfectly happy to have somebody else pick up the slack for her. She is not a person who's responsible enough to have a pet.
Right.
But that doesn't give you the legal right to dispose of her dog. So the only thing that I have to come up with is, what are Miss Lopez's damages? Because for every lawsuit, there has to be damage.
Yes, ma'am.
I've already decided that legally you had absolutely no right to dispose of her dog.
Well, Your Honor...
Don't say anything to me.
Can I just...
Miss Lopez, listen to me very carefully. I've just told you that the defendant had absolutely no right to legally
but
to
she was
sell
already
your dog.
trying to convince me to give up my dog.
Absolutely. Because you have no right to have a dog.
No.
Listen, I just told you, there isn't enough up here to take care of yourself. You have yourself and you have a 5-year-old daughter. You have no right adding to your plate a helpless animal that requires somebody else to do a little thinking for it, like spaying it so it doesn't become pregnant twice in 1 year, not taking puppies in out of the sun when it's 90 degrees outside, needs somebody else to think about taking care of them. You don't have that kind of time. I give you credit for working 2 jobs. I give you credit for being a single mom and taking care of a 5-year-old and working to take care of yourself. You have no right to have a dog. You don't have time. You don't have time to make that commitment. And the only thing is I have to figure out what your damages were. She took over your dog. She had, on a dollar profit, she had $300 that she made in addition to what she spent on your dogs at the vet. But she also took care of your dog and your puppies for 8 weeks, where you did zippo. No, I'm speaking zippo, nothing. And as far as I'm concerned, her time in taking care of your pets have to be worth something. If your puppies were with you and you had to tube feed them for 2 weeks, you would have had to take off from work to do that. Otherwise, you would have neglected them and turned them over to your roommate who let 2 of them fry out in the sun, which would have been an unsatisfactory resolution. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1. That's all.
Parties are excused.